Now is a great time to turn our attention to weeding. The weeds are young, the soil is moist and so the roots will come out more easily. Here's how to banish weeds from every part of your garden. So, what is a weed? Well, a weed is any plant growing where you don't want it to grow. The reason we don't want those weeds, apart from them being unsightly to look at, is that they crowd out the plants we want to grow. So generally speaking, weeds are not a good thing, and the best time to get on top of them is now. I don't like using weed killers. I'm an organic gardener, I've been for 40 years. So for me, any kind of chemical herbicide is out. I have to resort to mechanical means and also to weed prevention. In my beds and borders, which I've been cultivating for 20 years, there aren't a lot of weeds because I've kept on top of them, but there are one or two which recur. Bits of convolvulus bindweed which will suddenly appear clambering up a tall thing like a delphinium. Other common pains are ground elder, which has foliage that looks a bit like the elder tree. It's quite low, it only grows about a foot high, but it has really thick roots and you do need to get them out. Dandelions will pop up every now and again with those yellow flowers followed by seed heads, and they always say, 1 year's seed is 7 years weed. Here I've got cuckoo pine, lords and ladies, this wonderful green rosette here. Tools to get them out, spade and fork. And when you're working in a border spade or a border fork, which has a slightly narrower blade, slightly smaller, enables you to work between the established clumps of the perennials and shrubs that you want to keep by sticking it down and getting it underneath. The roots of cuckoo pine tend to go fairly straight down. If this were a nettle or ground elder, I'd be digging wider to get all the spreading roots out. But here, as this one does go down, I should be able to get most of it by going just underneath it. With this, the roots are quite thick, and as with all, look at these youngsters here, so if I'd left those in and just pulled the foliage off the top, all the bit that you really want out would have stayed below the ground, and I don't want it to come up again. I'm not going to knock any more soil off it than that because I don't want to risk leaving any more of these in the soil, so out it comes. Another group of weeds that you want to be rid of are the annual weeds, the ones that grow, flower and seed all in the space of a year. But try and get them out before they seed. That way you can be sure you're planning for the future. That's how to start getting rid of them, but of course prevention is always much better than cure. Now, if you've got clean soil in a bed or border at this time of year, it's nice to be able to keep it that way. Having got all your perennial weeds out or made sure that they haven't come up, then you can coat the soil with a mulch. Now, a mulch is an organic blanket, generally speaking between 1.5 and 2 inches thick. This is chipped bark. It doesn't offer much in the way of soil nutrition, but what it does do is form a blanket on the top which suppresses weed seedlings, particularly the annuals, and when it looks as good as this, it's also ornamental. It looks nice and it stops the plants as they emerge from being splashed by mud. Aim for a layer that's between 1 and 2 inches thick, and it's doing some good. That's perfect. I'm not just doing the circle, I will go around all these other plants as well. And in a way, it's money in the bank. Plants are shown off well by the mulch, weeds are being kept down, moisture's being kept in. Win, 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 eh? An alternative to putting the bark straight on the soil is first of all laying weed suppressing membrane like this, specially designed for the job. What you do have to do is to cut holes in it to let your plants come through. Then you can pin it down with these wire pegs all the way around the plant, and then lay your bark mulch on the top. It's belt and braces if you like. Winter's also a good time to de-weed your pots and containers. Even the smallest weeds are stealing water and nutrients from your plants, and in time could overpower them. Get them out now before they drop their seeds, multiply and damage your existing plants. Paths and drives made of gravel are the most perfect seed bed for annual weeds. The seeds drop down, they go underneath the little bits of stone where it's nice and damp and shady, and up they come, and you get this rash of weed growth. This is hairy bittercress. You can see these little rosettes all the way through the gravel drive. What you're trying to do with your Dutch hoe is to separate the little rosette from its roots, and that way it will cook once it's exposed to sunshine and dry out. Don't try and dig with a hoe. Remember, you're always skimming. The more of the weed root you can expose to the drying rays of the sun, the quicker they will die. When it comes to patios and terraces made of stones, where the pointing is, if you do find there's soil between your paving slabs and weeds are growing there, a patio knife is really quite useful. You can just skim along those channels where the pointing should be and get rid of the weeds. Another area where weeds thrive, particularly those weeds which make little rosettes and stay quite low, is the lawn, because they can sneak underneath the mower. The mower goes over the top, the weeds remain behind. Things like daisies, dandelions, plantains. Now, you can use a lawn weed and feed, that's the easiest way, but again, being organic, I don't like to do that. I've had this grass here for 20 odd years. It's never been given Weedkiller. I use two distinct implements. A daisy grubber. This little thing here is good for sliding underneath the rosettes of daisies and just prizing them out. And for the larger weeds with a taproot like thistles, then a narrow trowel like this. You can push right the way around them, prize the root out, and hey presto, there it is, gone. Now, I know it seems labour intensive, but it's what we call gardening. So those are my tips for the war on weeds. What are yours? Comment below. If you're looking for gardening tips like this, why not subscribe to my channel? You'll find ways of improving your garden, whatever its size, every week.